I've always been sporty. So I think sport's always been my thing. So all through school, PE and after school sports, the whole thing that kept me at school really. And my passion was rugby. I ran as a youngster. I did club athletics when I was a bit younger. But rugby kind of took over, especially when I was 16, 17, 18 onwards. And I guess that was my dream. I was fortunate. I played for Essex, I played for Eastern Counties. My ambition was to be a professional rugby player. Yeah, I had a car crash when I was 21 years old in Australia. I was doing my gap year out there, a British gap year, which is drink from Sydney to Cairns in as many pubs as you can in a year. And literally about a week before I was due to come home, I had a car crash and lost my right arm. So transforming was probably one way to describe it. But I think the thing about Paralympians is, and I know many, is most of us have had life-changing accidents, and most of us have done the most stupid things. Mine crashing the car is pretty mundane. Some of them have got the greatest stories. And I mean, the thing about an arm amputee, for example, it's very quick. There's no great story to tell. It's literally, surgery lasted about 3.5, 4 hours, had 10 stitches, was out of hospital after 6 days. Whereas if you spinal injury or leg amputees, it can be months, you know. So that part of healing is very quick. It's the mental healing that takes a lot longer. Yeah, I mean, the thing for me is by getting back into sport, that meant everything would be all right. So I knew that I'd never play at the same level. I surprised myself at the level I could play, actually. I didn't expect that, but I think that was the point. That was about showing that my life would go on. So we're playing rugby again. That just said to me, it said to everybody else that this won't stop me, this won't get in my way. I'll do what I want to do, and I'll do it as best I can. So I think rugby was probably the most important. I call it the most important step because it's the one where I realised that yes, traumatic things happen, but it doesn't have to change your life. Well, the first game I played, there was TV cameras there. It was a big game. There was media, press, Daily Mail was there, and press organisations. It was a huge game, and we was playing a team called Gravesend, and they chose this game specifically because it was the first match that Thurrock ever played. Thurrock and Gravesend played against each other, so they had this yearly cup. So it was a good game to do it. But the physio that used to look after me back then from the rugby club basically took me in the changing rooms before the game, introduced me to the other team, and just said, "Look, this is the deal, guys. He's fit, he's fast. You either hit him hard or he'll score a try. Simple." And that they did. And I mean, I think the only thing I do get is, of course, I probably don't get as aggressively hit. You know, there's not always the malice in the hits that you will sometimes get in rugby. And I think when I'm on the floor, they'll tend to be a little bit more lenient and protective of me. If I'm on the floor, they won't, necessarily ruck me or stamp me or pile into me. That's the positive side of being an amputee. For me, it was long. I mean, for me, after my accident, anything that had the word disability attached, I would go 5 miles in the opposite direction. So any club that was disabled, had a disabled badge, not interested, able-bodied all the way. So I had no interest in running. And when I played that first game, it was televised. And we used to have, there used to be a guy that used to look after the amputee section of the squad, of the Great Britain squad. And his name was Peter Arnott. And he basically, they used to call him the ambulance chaser, because he used to go out and find amputees. He was really proactive in that. Not as in, finding people that was already competing and going and watching race and saying, hey, you've got a bit of potential, let's train you up. I'm talking about hearing someone's had an accident that was a bit sporty and visit them in hospital almost. And he used to do this, and he used to phone me up every now and again. And when he first phoned me up, he said, look, can't promise you're going to be a Paralympian, it doesn't quite work like that. He said, but I understand you used to be a runner, I've seen you're quite fit. Originally he was thinking about multi-eventing because I was quite strong. And he said, look, come and meet some of the guys that have competed in Atlanta. And I just like, Peter, I'm not interested, mate. I said, I've done athletics, I'm a rugby man, that's what I want to do. And then every 6 months he'd phone me up out of the blue. Dan, thought about it anymore? And this went on for about 2 years. And then eventually, I just say to him, look, Peter, when you finish the race, do you get to hang upside down from a railing and drink Guinness through your nose? And he'd be like, no. And I'd say, well, I'll stick to rugby then. And then one day I was at a rugby player's house, and my phone was ringing, and it had this guy's name on the front, and his wife Sally had the phone in her hand, and she said, "Dan, your phone." I was like, "Whatever you do, Sally, do not answer that phone." So she instantly pressed green, said, "It's for you, Dan," with a big smile on her face. And because I was slightly 3 sheets to the wind, I was chatting to this guy, and I just looked, Pete, I said, I'll come to you next squad weekend, and I'll meet the guys, and then you leave me alone. And he said, deal. So I went to Sheffield a few weeks later, met the athletes, didn't play rugby for another 13 years.